Jeremy, take us inside the room. What was it like speaking with Teo Friday?
Well, Manti Teo sat there for 2.5 hours. He answered every question I asked. He didn't seem nervous. He seemed to be able to communicate clearly about everything that had happened over the course of several years in his relationship with Lene Kekua. To my ears, he made a very convincing witness in his own defense. I'm sure people will form their own judgments when we have a chance to put out more of what he said. I don't know how many questions were asked, but as I said, he answered all of them really unflinchingly. If he's making up his side of the story, he's a very convincing actor. Of course, there were suggestions over the last couple of days, more than suggestions, theories posited about whether he was party to this hoax, if he just helped perpetuate this hoax. He adamantly denies having anything to do with it, and I asked him directly about that.
There was one line in the Deadspin story. An unnamed friend of one of the sources said, "I'm 80% certain Manti was in on this." Mm-hmm. For the record, once again, were you in any way part of this?
No. Never.
Never?
Ever would I be part of this.
One of the inconsistencies that's been pointed out over the last couple of days since the Deadspin.com story appeared, since Jack Swarbrick, the Notre Dame AD, appeared at a press conference 2 nights ago, since Manti Teo released his statement a couple of days ago, was that, well, Swarbrick, if you let me go back, said that on December 6th, Teo got a phone call from a person who he believed to be Lene Kekua, who he thought had died on September 12th. Teo says that he did get that phone call on December 6th, but that did not convince him that this had all been a hoax. That took longer to get around to. But between December 6th and December 26th, when he went to Notre Dame to tell them about the problem, he continued to talk about Lene Kekua, his girlfriend, in several interviews, including an interview with our Chris Fowler during the Heisman Trophy presentation on December 8th. And he explained why that happened, because he said he wasn't convinced that Lene Kekua hadn't died, that she was a hoax. Now he was thinking maybe she was alive. She'd given him some story about drug dealers. But there was also something pointed out about how in previous stories during the course of the football season, his father had told reporters that Manti had met Lene Kekua in person. That never happened, Manti Teo says. Of course, Lene Kekua never existed, but he never met anyone who claimed to be Lene Kekua either. How did he explain the fact that his father said he had met her? Well, I asked him about that.
You described your relationship often in a way that suggested you had met her.
Mm-hmm.
Explain.
That goes back to what I did with my dad. I knew that, I even knew that it was crazy that I was with somebody that I didn't meet. And let alone people find out that this girl who died, who I was so invested in, I didn't meet her as well. So I kind of, tailored my stories to have people think that, yeah, he met her before she passed away, so that people wouldn't think I was some crazy dude.
And he had told his father, Manti Teo says, back around New Year's of 2012, that he had met Lene Kekua in person on Hawaii. He lied to his father, he says, in an offhanded way. He was excited to meet Lene Kekua after having had long discussions with her on the phone, over the internet, and it seemed that they would finally meet. And his parents had been asking him, "Oh, you're going to go meet Lene Kekua." A meeting was set up. He goes to the meeting. He told me she's a no-show. He comes back home. His father says to him, what happened? What was it like? And he said, oh, we had a good time, something like that. So after that point, he did not disabuse his father of his impression that he had actually met Lene Kukua, and that's what led to his father telling reporters that his son had met her, I should say. And then we spoke also about that December 6th phone call. Now, remember the timing here. On September 12th, Manti Te'o's grandmother, Net Santiago, died. He receives a phone call from a relative telling him that his grandmother has died. He's bereft. One of the people who comforts him in the next few hours is Lene Kukua, who he understands has gone home from the hospital after 4 months in the hospital the day before. A few hours later, he says, he gets a phone call from Lene Kukua, someone claiming to be Lene Kukua's brother, saying that she has died. So now he's devastated again. And for the next almost 3 months, he is under the impression that Lene Kukua is dead. And then he gets a phone call on December 6th while he's at the Home Depot College Football Awards show in Orlando.
So December 6th happened. And I'm laying in my bed, I'm getting ready to go to sleep, and I get a phone call from the same number that Uwe always used, Lene's phone. He said, it's Lene. And so we carried on that conversation, and I just got mad. And I just went on a rampage. Like, how could you do this to me? Like, I ended that conversation by saying simply this. You know what? My Lene died on September 12th.
And Stan, he said since that conversation on December 6th, there have been all kinds of contacts with people purporting to be Lene Kukua, her family, explaining why she disappeared for so long, why she said that she had died on September 12th, having something to do with drug deals gone awry, that she was being chased by drug dealers. Manti Te'o is under the impression that the Kukua pranksters, that might be too mild a word, the perpetrators here came to the BCS championship game in Miami. It seems as if, in fact, they had other people take pictures of his team hotel. They wanted to meet down there. And so he was very confused, he says, for the next several weeks about whether this person was alive, whether she had ever existed, whether people were just messing with him. And he said that right up until a few hours before the Deadspin story broke 2 days ago, that he wasn't quite sure what happened. But at that time, he got a phone call from Renaya Tuiasosopo, in which he admitted that he had perpetrated this hoax, and in a series of communications also apologized for it.
Jeremy, what can you tell us about Te'o's demeanor during the interview?
Well, as I said, he was very composed. He was very collected. There wasn't any hemming or hawing. He certainly seemed to have his timeline down straight. I did not detect any inconsistencies. And I think, significantly from his point of view anyway, when it was over, he was relieved. He said he was very relieved to have unburdened himself of this. He's been at the center of this maelstrom for the last couple of days. He's a very devout young man. This was something I don't think, if we were to believe his story, he ever saw coming. And right up until the time it happened, in terms of the story breaking. But I think he went to bed tonight feeling better, knowing that his side of the story, for what it's worth, is out there.
A part of his side of that story is that Renaya Tuiasosopo apologized to him for perpetrating the hoax. Tuiasosopo also named in the Deadspin.com report. What was Te'o's relationship with Tuiasosopo?
Well, he said Tuiasosopo was represented to him as a cousin of Lene Kukua's, and they had communications over text, over Twitter direct messages, I think, on a number of occasions over the last few years. But the only time he met him was at the USC game in Los Angeles, at the time of the USC game in Los Angeles this past season. And it was during that meeting, Teo's uncle was also there. Teo's uncle caught Tuiasosopo in a lie. He did not communicate his misgivings about Tuiasosopo at that time to his nephew, but he did to his brother, Manti Te'o's father, who then told Manti that there was something fishy about this guy. But and then over the course of the last few weeks, and there were more communications from, as I said, the Kukua camp, including Tuiasosopo. But this is someone he says he only met on that one occasion.
Jeremy, there are no doubt viewers watching this right now asking, why didn't Teo give his answers to your questions on camera? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, obviously, we would have preferred to do this on camera. He felt more comfortable in a setting without cameras, felt he could be more relaxed without a lot of people in the room, wanted this to be as natural a setting as possible. I think it would have been beneficial to him to do this on camera because, as I said, he was very composed and collected, but that's not what he wanted to do. It's not the first time somebody hasn't wanted to do an interview on camera, and that was his rationale.